But first off, we are focusing on South Sudanese women's leadership and the role of multimedia in cultural promotion and preservation. In our show tonight, we are going to talk about the work of Ma Mara Sakit Village, a vibrant, actually feminist community, amplifying the voices of women and girls and using art, culture, and multimedia to promote positive South Sudanese cultures. Joining me in the studios are three women who have been at the center of these efforts. And right to my face is actually Jacky Ben, the program's coordinator at Ma Mara Sakit, and she'll be talking about their project for South Sudanese women in displacement. And I'm also having Mama Mary Aluel. She is a beat-making expert and the coach of Suksana, women beat-makers at Ma Mara Sakit Village. And also Huda Izedin is the co-creator of This Is Us series, and she'll be discussing the role of young women and multimedia in cultural promotion. It's my pleasure having all of you in the studios of iRadio. First question goes to you, Jacky Ben, as the coordinator of Ma Mara Sakit Village programs. So you have been leading this project. Please, can you tell us more about this work and the motivation behind it?
Thank you so much, presenter. Yeah, for the last 2 years, we started actually working with some refugee-led institutions in Uganda called CECI, Community Empowerment for Creative Innovation. So the current activity that we implemented in 2024 is following up the activity that we had last year in December in the displacement. So our current activity, South Sudanese women in the displacement, basically look at the South Sudanese women in the displacement. We understand the situation in our country. So many South Sudanese are in the neighboring countries in the refugee camp. So we had this activity and it was intentional. We worked in a consortium and we were looking, because we are a feminist institution, we are concerned about women and girls, but that does not mean we don't deal with the men as well. But then in Bidi, in Yumbe district is where we had the activity implementation. So the South Sudanese women in the displacement is an activity that looked at the cross-cultural dialogue. So we had several cross-cultural dialogue with the women leaders and the young women. And the women leaders, these are elderly women who were in the displacement. And I don't know, for many of us who might be following the numbers of South Sudanese in the displacement, Bidi refugee camp is one of the largest camp with so many South Sudanese women and girls. So we intentionally went for Bidi because at least 80% of the populations are South Sudanese.
Right.
So we identified with the lead partner, CECI, because they are a youth-led institution in the displacement. We had activities, cross-cultural dialogue that looks at the role of young women, because we had two separate sessions and the joint dialogue bring the two together. So we had the young women and then the elderly women. So we had 2 days activities, cross-cultural dialogue engagement on the roles of women in cultural preservation, because we understand women are the custodians of culture. As much as that they are displaced due to the insecurities in the country and they are away, some of them have spent for over 10, 9, 7 years in the camp. What has not changed? So how can we preserve our positive cultures and promote them as much as we are not home? So we are looking at women as custodian of cultures, because from growth, women are always there with the kids, nurturing children, managing homes. They are role models. So we wanted to map out the positive cultures and how can we preserve and promote them. For so many times we have seen South Sudan is being identified, with some of those are not attractive, bad cultures. Of course, issues of arranged marriages exist, forced marriages, bad things, like any other country has their own weaknesses. But still deep down, South Sudan have a lot of beautiful cultural heritage that can be used as a unifying factor, that South Sudanese can relate and connect with one another. So the two cultural, cross-cultural dialogue for the women leaders looked at the experiences, the role of elderly women in cultural preservation. What are the experiences? What has changed now that they are not home? Do they still hold to their cultures? Do they still preserve their positive cultures? How do they identify themselves within the camp? What has worked out for them as South Sudanese in the displacement with the host communities? So we had those two separate cross-cultural dialogue with the women and the young women and the elderly women, and then on the last day for the joint dialogue where we are trying to bridge the intergenerational gap, because we have seen it's becoming a blame game. The elderly people will be like, the world today has taken, social media has taken our young people. They don't pay attention to our cultures. They don't look at it as something that is very attractive. And then the young are also kind of, they have more better things to do compared to their cultures. So we brought them together so that they can have exchange experiences. What has happened in the past and how can we keep them going, especially the positive cultures. So that's the heart of the activity, and we are really trying to see the positive cultures. How can we promote and preserve them?
So how do you do that? How do you ensure this is realized? You said you bring them together. What is involved there?
In the discussion?
Yes, and stakeholders, do you bring together stakeholders? Because you want to bridge the gap between the young people and the elderly, for instance, so that they are at par with one another given the changes.
First of all, what you need to understand that in the camp, those are refugees,
Right.
and then the host communities. The stakeholders are the people on the ground, and they are literally the host communities who hosted the displaced persons. Okay, so how we bring them together, of course, like I mentioned, we work in a consortium. We have our lead partner institution in the camp, a South Sudanese youth-led organization.
Right.
So they help us identify, because they work in the displacement, they know the context, and then the local authorities on the ground, even the host communities, understand that these people work a lot with the displaced person. So they help us identify these South Sudanese women.
Thank you for that. I will come back with some follow-up questions, and I suppose that is why you have a person like Mama Mary Aluel with us in the studio. She is actually a bead-making expert and a coach, and I think bead is one of attires that as Africans, and I'm seeing you having some on your neck, looking beautiful, and I suppose is some of her products for Mama Mary. Mama Mary tabanita yana zol mutaallim fi mulusuksuk wa ita gideri sunas bezat san kidali musuku lalita gamulude mungkin sharik maina awal haja shunu kale kita dahal bi shukule mal namanita baga raba fogo ubiga gamul shukul jamil.
Ana bugul shokron later. And you know, ya jetta narde ya radio.
Naam.
Ana bugul shokron kales. Le Junubu Sudan can be civil ana pursa can kaliana wanus ya jet bita culture.
Naam.
Culture da zamande da jet bita nina almagemet. Ita belabis ita benia belabis rajel belabis can madarasa ma fela nina zaman. Madarasa bita nina de mura. Nina nad bita mura. Nad al kielu pi madarasa dan nad barao. Ita kan ita geni pi bet ita bali majad bita culture bita buk bita bita. Baade pi gara gamolo. Pi aja al bugulu la nina isim bito asaja na mare barabi. De bukudu gara fogo pi ras. Zede. Tanaja ita belabi suk-suk. Mene suk-suk de zol albali mita de uma bata. Uma bata ya wali mana ma culture de ta suk-suk de.
Naam.
Shana na magar aker kali ana ali ma jed bata belet. Baada na ali ma jed yaw si bana an joswana ba joswana ana ma dakal fi jesh. Kana na ma dakal fi jesh ana ma yendo maya ana gamol business bata ta jeta ni ne zai matam kide ba da ana yin da ana jafi juba ne
No.
Ana ropi didigar jibu mana zamet katir bita de bari nak be mala lindu mangede yao nad limu katir fogu nad bita mana zamet yao mana zama bita susuk gya de chokola na bari badire ana keli chokolin taninda ana dakal bi chokol bita susuk le maratani simbito anyes pirut mana zama dai simbito rut lama na ma shi fi America ai zaman da ga na ma shi fi America ma shokol da suk da
interesting
yao shokol da biga fi zaman ana mol suk da suk ta ko set ta dinga albugulu bin suk da na kulu gayen yao mar da yen alwal lwal biga lego fi Nairobi o dor gad fati jana ya lwal jale gana lwal kalim le gali mama lwal itabalim no sawen di chokol batag da ya wana lim no da wen bata junu Sudan ma chokol da
asita deri su kamnas minita bada chokol da
asa biga ashara naza lana mol de naza jazin
nam
fiya bana talada fogo
nam taban
abana da arba fiya bana da arba fogo ana limu mana sade biga bari chokol su kolo barda ni na limu bado ni na biga lim chokol bita su bita balad na kolo albugulu junu Sudan da mana barai
nam
ni na limu kulu fi gibila bita junub kulu asade naza la limu maida biga rib chokol bita su kolo ay gibila ma gibila
taban zaman tabediride anas bishupa chocolate alita weli derisita kumfogode bega fi ferik ma hasinas gisuf ni muhima to muhima beto asagero ta mutakir magero hasi liano nas gisuf bega de haja tani kaman kwais kan bedri yani di tabile culture wana shuf teriga beto bara mungkin nas bukone di mo bukole yani giafa wa haja kida lakini hasi ita shuf yani nas gishupo bega cave hasa bezat suk
ay asa de ya o kalama na bugula ita jibel de chokoron shan shuno na ma busibu culture ta gid bata kita ma busibu ta gid bata kan joz ita ma joz ita der joz beniya patij bata baled bata ko yani ta balabis bugula de filan bata baled kide suk galu labis de bata baled ta o man za sa de ta gar ja bera ana gayen walad balabis ta ajade jalabiya jalabiya balabis jalabiya biga bishilu aja amar bukudu firazu da ya buta zaman ana gayen le bagana tanin kalcha buta oman bishilu suk de balabizu fiyom buta jozu beniya balabizu rajal balabizu ile dolal ma yendo gadara
asanas bilibisu
ay uman gele bizu ay uman gele bizu ya kalcha
eta ligid nas zanina almashi fi madrasa bishop gal la hajata bedir la hajata la buga ma fi mustawa betanasa lagara hal fi nas zedegi fikri hajat ziregul hajat beta tabia bedir kale kalutat
ay fi baga nas bukalim kede ko nas beta wusura uman ma basuma beni ya zatu aljozu de wo bugul gali kaliya ni na labi suk de da sade zela tuba balabi suk buta o man za sholi balabi suk buta o man zidinga balabi suk mandari zede kulu ga labi za sade
right
ai
let me come to I think Izedin and maybe so how do you see this talking about intergenerational gap and how to promote culture, how to promote and preserve culture? From the way she's explaining, it looks like still there is a sense of a strong culture you can see in her because of her generation, but then the upcoming generation are actually adopting a different culture altogether. We see the type of dressing that comes from the Western country. They are to identify with the music genre, let's say hip hop, you see reggae, you see a lot of things. And do you see actually this generation deviating from some of these positive aspects of culture, like how we make our identity?
Thank you so much. When I'm to talk about it, like the roles of women in rural and is it in cultural promotion and preservation, right?
Yes.
Women actually play a central role in the cultural preservation in many other kind of ways. Like for example, promoting gender equality. In this way, women can use their writings, like maybe their images and many other things, in public spaces or maybe in libraries, in museums. They can keep them there. And also to talk about what she's saying, empowerment of women. You can empower women through teaching them about their traditions, like what she's saying.
Yes.
Teaching them on the bead making, and teaching them on different kind of cultures that they don't know, because in right now in the modern world, a lot of people don't know their tradition, even including me myself. But if you're not taught
Do you regret?
yeah, sometimes I regret, because I feel like I lost a lot of things. But I'm also learning a lot of different cultures. So in this way, teaching them by empowering them helps them to know more about their cultures, and also creating art. So you can see the artists. Let's talk about the artists. Like they use their modern aspect, combining together with the tradition aspect in making music, which sometimes impact into meaning of different kind of cultures.
Right.
Yeah. So preserving cultures. Women are often involved in a lot of activities, like for example, as in cultural activities such as the dancers. Sometimes they may be the organizers and the performers in different cultural festivals. So this is how they promote their cultures. So challenging gender norms. Urban environments can foster tolerance to different gender norms. In this case, through a lot of different kind of cultures, by learning them, you can challenge the gender norms.
Right. And Jacky, so what have been your favorite highlights leading this project?
Thank you so much for that question. I had a lot of favorite highlights. First of all, what stood out for me, the South Sudanese in the displacement are from different ethnic groups. There are people who are Kakwa, Fojulu, Nuer, Bari, Dinka, Acholi. But what stood out for me, all of them in the displacement identified themselves as South Sudanese. When you see the women, when you beat the Acholi drum, everybody jumps and dance. Even during the session, they were from different ethnic groups, including the host community. Some of them were part of the event, including some Congolese. You also know what happened in Congo, so some of them are in the same displacement. But when you see the South Sudanese women, how they cherish each other and how they do their things, really the element of unity is stood out for me. And also what stood out for me, like my important highlight, I've come to realize that South Sudanese women in the displacement go through a lot, and they cannot talk about these kind of things. There are challenges that they face. They also miss home. They miss their cultures. They miss their way of doing things, especially the elderly people, because we also had interviews on 4 themes. We had interviews on the South Sudanese traditional food and how to cook. We had interviews on the theme of language. Do still South Sudanese speak their local language even away from home? We had interviews on cultural outfits, their attires in the displacement. Are they still there? So we have talked to South Sudanese women. We have interviewed them on the music. So what stood out for me is like, still somehow it exists. The only problem is they do not have access to this kind of resources, because some of these women have already spent, like I said, 10 years in the displacement. So sometimes the only way to console themselves, you'll find that they still remember their traditional songs and they sing. So when they sing, it reminds them of their life back home, because they miss home. That was a key element for me. And one of the ladies, Kakwa, that I interviewed, still have a calabash. Imagine, she said she went to the camp in 2014. But up to today, when she looked at that calabash, it reminds her of home. So that for me, you identify yourself with your resources as South Sudanese. Being a displaced person does not change your identity. So that for me was a key. And then I've also seen that this was an opportunity for women to express themselves, women being leaders, women being custodians of cultures. Then what can we do best to promote our positive cultures? So for me, that was,
Naam. Mama Mary, ita taban gulta de resta nas asara. Hal hajide gero hayabitomon. Hayabitomon gero.
Ho beka gero. Shan chunu kanita kuti jana bitaku madarasa ma guru bita susugde. Laman jana kala jamia ita bugul shukran le zola lali mana. Ze bagna zasade beka kuti yalta oman be madarasa ma talimde. Ta naja kaman ana yalta yenta ma talimde. Shana na ga amor susugde. Badde bagna za lintade oman bugul shukran asade. Tana ja kama wo zola lindu manazama de me jog bito yom dag de suk de yaw o amol culture mo woman ashara banet ba de yaw ayen be ka kwes asa de finas ga jur suk de yan be ka tamam.
Yes. So, Jacky, in what is trying, my interpretation is that there is also an economic aspect of it, because it brings value in terms of money, because of the value that is found in culture itself through artifacts that people still embrace and want to buy them.
Exactly.
Right.
So, in another word, Ma Mara Sakit Village and the Suksukna. It's called Suksukna. It's a project by itself in our institution.
Right.
So Suksukna literally means our beads. So it's our heritage, our beautiful aspect. Then somehow the economic value comes in, because these are things that back in the days people just do them maybe for prestige, recognitions and stuff. But also we are trying to adjust to the current situation, because we have seen other people sell their traditional things, their beads and stuff. Why not South Sudanese?
Right.
Yeah.
That's correct. And you did mention one important thing that this project of yours does in the lives of South Sudanese who are in their refugee camps, for instance. I grew up in the camp. Back then, during the Bashir regime, I lived in a community of refugees from different South Sudanese ethnic groups, 34 tribes. And during dry season is actually the season for traditional dances and traditional activities. You have Lotuko, you have Acholi, you have Dinka, you have Nuer, you have Madi. And I speak other languages in my mind because of the interaction that we had as young people.
Yeah.
And for the tribes, I mean, those who are few get assimilated somehow. They get to be speaking the languages of the other, or who are actually dominant. And but that's not the issue. But I looked at the aspect of it in terms of creating social coexistence. And has that been the result of this kind of interaction where you actually launched this project?
Exactly. In one of my highlights that I've mentioned earlier, that the displaced women identify themselves as South Sudanese. You will not hear somebody in the camp saying, I am a Fojulu or staff. I have not seen that.
Right.
In the durations of my stay there, interacting with them, engaging with them, they proudly identify themselves as South Sudanese. So in between the sessions, we had traditional dances. We had the Kakwa traditional dances, we had the Acholi, the Nuer, the Shuluk, and everybody jumped in to dance. So that is using our positive cultures as a very peaceful ground for us to relate beyond our ethnic groups.
Right.
Us calling ourselves as South Sudanese alone is an achievement. Okay? It will remove this kind of feelings on a tribal basis, for example. And when we begin to identify ourselves as South Sudanese, we begin to love the other people cultures, and also building on the positive cultures, because we know it's not every culture that is good. So our job here is to map out the positive cultures and how to make the best use of it. Also when you hear Mama is saying she was able to pay her children Okay. By the way, our South Sudan has one of the most richest culture, and we can make a lot of money from our cultures. When you go to Kenya, go to Bomas of Kenya, what they do there, you pay for these traditional dances to watch. Why not South Sudan? Okay. So for us, as Ma Mara Sakit Village, we want to add values and also bring to the understanding, bring to the world the beauty of South Sudanese in terms of their cultural heritage.
Right, value addition. How do you ensure that Mama Mary mukenta besharik manna and kev taban bediri takongea mul hajade wa kanta shofi alian itaongamul biga yani giafa futu bita bediri de
asade
ay wala nepsu
ay de neptu bas al mafi fogo pi alge kudu pi sulba ya obi ka mafi
le der woduruke
ay de ya wadu chan chunu yom dagde baton ma bukunu kabir buta benia al bulabi susuk de rejel al bulabi susuk de ana jar ni na ga kulu de leben ma sida buta baledna ma buta kum de al bugulu ungali geni bad baton bukunu kabir yawo susuk de ma badakal de yawo kalama la ni na sibe susuk de yawo magim banet bulabiso rujal bulabiso kaman
naam
ay pasa de yawo ajal wada ana ma yene yom wat wana gamul chokol buto ana bari chokol buto de binial bulabizi yawo ana male
amol betanasal kerisa kabir kaman
ma bukunu kwes bugeni bas de fanila yawo mara amel labizo.
Okay, let me come to you, Huda Izedin. So, looking at the positive things that culture can bring in terms of social cohesion and also having some economic value in it, and Jacky just highlighted that importance and the need for value addition to make sure that this does not only is used for social cultural preservation, but also promoting promoting the economy, not just for individuals, but as he said, it's very rich. If we can sell outside, that would bring us a lot of money into the country. Now, let me come to you, Huda Izedin. So, what role do young women play in preserving South Sudanese culture? Or are really young people preserving the South Sudanese culture?
Okay. I think this is the same question you asked me before.
All right. So, and being a multimedia practitioner, so how can multimedia help in promoting and protecting our traditions?
Okay, multimedia helps in a lot of ways. Like, for example, multimedia, let me define the term multimedia because someone outside there might be listening and doesn't know what multimedia is. So multimedia refers to different contents. Like, for example, it can be in form of audio, it can be in form of text, it can be in form of videos. So how do multimedia help to promote culture and preserve culture? We can use it like by promoting cultural diversity. South Sudan have diverse cultures. We have a lot of cultures, and many people may not know, including myself. So, but through using media as a tool, by writing something down, or maybe by putting videos on internet, maybe in YouTube, it helps a lot of people, to benefit from the information by knowing a lot of different cultures in South Sudan. And at the same time, it can also attract visitors when other people from other countries, when they see that South Sudan have very nice cultures, maybe when they see the Lotuko or maybe they see the Dinka, they're wearing beads and whatever things on, it can attract them actually to come. It can attract them to come to the country, and also it also enhances, their experience. In this way, they can also add more meanings into the into the things. Like some beads, you know, when you wear it, they're specifically in other tribes, maybe it's supposed to be worn by a young person, some are supposed to be worn by a elder person, and different colors have their different kind of meanings, and also different attires sometimes at the same time have different meanings. Others can be worn by a widow, and then others cannot be worn by a widow, and then this way the visitors can enhance and you know, give their experience through this. So creating a common culture, multimedia application can create a different culture, like a relationship between an individual and the community. So now if I'm getting to know about another culture, I can have a relationship between that culture, you know, by knowing some stuff that that culture does. I'll be knowing more stuff. So promoting cultural understanding, multimedia can promote cultural understanding, you know, by displaying diverse cultural perspectives and traditions. You know, I said it before, when you put different kind of cultures, like maybe the Mundari, maybe the Kakwa or the Pojulu, in this way this one you can promote different kind of cultures by making sure that you understand what another culture is trying to mean, what the Lotuko's meaning, what the Dinka's meaning, or what the Pojulu is trying to mean. Yeah, thank you.
Right, so there will be no cultural shock because all these you get aware and what they mean, so you can just get surprised. And sometimes we get surprised because we have not seen this before. We assume that our culture is the best. I say mine is the best, and the other one. So wanted to create, I mean, would you see also the positive aspect of creating competition for better improvement or preservation of culture?
What kind of competitions?
When you use the media platforms, it creates that competition, a healthy competition, and in that way you promote and preserve culture. I have seen on social media in South Sudan a lot of platforms on social media, new media particularly. You find the Dinka, the Nuer, the Pojulu tribe, and people are sharing a lot of things in many platforms, and whether you like it or not, you will come across one or two. So this is what happens. So I'm looking at it in this sense. So, okay, can I ask this? Is it really enough to do it that way, or it needs a specific way of how we can sell this culture?
Actually, maybe I can say we need it that way, because most of the time, if you can see the population of South Sudan, a lot of people that doesn't know most about the culture, they are the youth, you know, the Gen Z. So in this way, they are the most people that is using social media. So I think social media is the best way, you know, to interact with them.
Especially the young generation.
Yeah, so they can be able to know. And because I don't think there's a reason why we are supposed to go to the grassroots, because they already know what cultures are. So by using YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and other kind of forms of social media, I think it's the best way. That way for the young youth to understand more about their cultures.
I got attracted to Mundari dress sometimes, and even some colleagues who are not from that tribe, when they visit, Terageka is becoming one of the sites people will often go there on weekends to enjoy themselves, and they buy these clothes. And so would you say this is actually good practice, that young people are beginning to embrace this culture?
Yeah, it's actually a good practice, because nowadays where you see young people are really so much interested into knowing a lot of cultures. You can see nowadays there are different kind of workshops that are organized about cultures, and in this way it brings young people together. And also wearing different kind of attires, wearing the beads, you know, it's also a good thing for the young people, you know, to get to know more about their cultures.
Right, thank you very much. 18 minutes to the top of the hour of 5. This is the Sundown program, and we are talking on the role of South Sudanese women in promoting culture and also preserve it. If you have any question to ask the guest, please don't hesitate to call 0911-986-986 or 0922-986-986. Don't hesitate. Once again, the number to read is 0911986986. Do you love actually your culture? And what is it that you're doing as an individual to promote your culture? Do you see the young generation swaying away from their traditions, or they are getting attracted to it? From your own observation, you can ask that question if you don't mind. Hello, good evening. Well, you can return your call. In the meantime, as we wait for calls from there, just some of the lessons maybe that we can take from the aspect, of promoting culture, and not just promoting but also preserve it. Jacky.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that we need to learn. First of all, one of the lessons that I have learned is that South Sudanese love their culture and they identify themselves with their cultures. Because, for example, if you find that your children still speak your local languages, you feel proud. So I was saying that South Sudanese still identify themselves with their languages. And for me, it's a big one, because if you don't speak your local language, it's very difficult to, get the sense of belonging.
Right.
Yeah, because our languages give us to where we belong. So when people look at the way we understand, I don't know what is the understanding of civilization to other people.
Right.
But for me, civilization is when you understand your origin, your culture, how things are being done. Okay. So for me, when one speak their language or still wear their cultural outfits or still dance their dance, they are civilized, because they know where they come from and it's easy to track where they're going.
Correct.
You cannot be a very random human being with no roots.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me have this caller online. Hello. Okay, seem to having trouble with the line, but keep trying. The same line, 0911-986-986 or 0922-986-986, or else you can text to 0911-986-986. Hello. Hello.
Mama.
Yes, marhab.
Yes, we are connected to the door.
Yes, James Door.
Yes. The topic is very nice, and maybe some people may not value the same way I value the topic. This topic is really reflecting our cultural heritage, as the guest mentioned in the studio. And I have some questions to the guest in the studio.
Yes.
One question is, people now become overlooking their heritage and adopting Western cultures, which are not relevant to our living way of sharing ideas, sharing the cultural norms and any other things. How should we really inform such a people so that they become part and parcel of sending such a messages? Because you get people sending their children to Kenya and they forget all the cultural heritage of our country and begin adopting such a culture. When they come here, they contradict to those who are here. What advice can we give to such people? Should we really introduce our own education that will really maintain and promote our cultural heritage in our country, or what can we do in such cases? Second, we don't really see this language. Like, for example, we have two communication language now in South Sudan, English and Arabic. And these are not real languages that will really make us value in other countries, let's say, of region, and even the continent as well as the outer world, because people are adopting their own languages. Why are we not having one language that will really promote our cultural heritage, as you mentioned?
Shukran. Okay, thank you very much, James Doyle. There, I think Jacky will respond to your questions and also compliment in a very short while. You too can also call and share with us your thoughts. 0911-986-986. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Marhab.
William Alphonse.
William Minwen. Dari Minwen.
Dari Minwen.
Naam, Sharik Manna.
أنا بقول شكرا لضيوف الاستديو ناس حاجة تتكلم كلام بتاع الحاجة. أنت تعرف أنا بعرف.
Now, Miss Mila Suba, okay, you can call back. I'll keep reminding you of my name. If you have just tuned in, my name is Lasuba Memo, the host of the Sundown program. But before I give that chance to the guest, let me pick one more. Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening to you.
Yes, who's calling?
I'm calling Johnson Baraza Simon from Yambia.
Yes, Johnson.
Yeah, my first regard to you in the studio with our guest.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and then it's very, very vital topic to the listener who are listening to Radio Miraya for now.
This is iRadio.
We welcoming her in the studio, our guest.
Mm-hmm.
And then that topic of culture is so nice program, but we have impact on that program. One, with the issues been happening in South Sudan, insecurity with other issues, some people have left their culture due to the insecurity. You think people, if they have all, they cannot speak their naturally culture to their children. The wife can overcome the children with a different culture. Because the father have no mandate to base insecurity issues. Even for now, we have children in Yambio, we have children in Wow, we have children in Bechu, in those places. But they are not relevant to their culture because they are not trained. Without training, you can do nothing. Means that they have to be showing them for now when the adult children in the house, they have to show them.
Okay, so you're saying conflict disrupts the preservation of culture because conflict creates displacement. Thank you so much. The guest will also respond to that. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. I'm afraid I have to turn that off, but you can call and ask your question. In the meantime, Jacky, you have these view points and also question from the listeners.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the person asked how we can preserve and promote our cultures. I think with the work that Ma Mara Sakit Village is already doing, it's one way to preserve and promote our positive cultures. Coming to iRadio, and then capacity building for women, like Mama have said, she has trained women, and such institution that support cultural activities like the beading is one way we can promote and preserve our positive cultures. And I think it also goes back to individual, goes back to our roots, and looking at women, because we have seen that women are the custodians of cultures, because from birth women are there with their children. And when you see the beading work, we are not disregarding that men do not do beading, but they don't do it as the women do. So most of the women are the one doing the beads work, the cultural kind of things, outfit, attires. But I also know, like, if it comes to the drums are made by men. So how can we promote and keep this going? It goes back to individual. We as parents need to tell our children their roots and how important it is from a very early age. And then some institutions like already Ma Mara Sakit Village is doing, adding value when somebody can benefit. And this is something that you're being labeled with. People respect and recognize, it motivates you, and you will see that women and other men who do this kind of cultural things pick interest because they can benefit from them. So adding value and teaching our children how to feel their sense of belonging by not, diverting away from their cultures is key, and it goes to every family and every ethnic group.
Right, thank
Let
you.
me add on what
Yes.
Jacky said. I heard from this one from the caller. He said, how are we going to promote our cultures yet we keep taking our children outside of South Sudan, like in Kenya and other countries? I can say, as Jacky said, you have to be impacting this thing on your children. You have not to divert them away from their cultures. As me, I didn't even grow in South Sudan, but I can speak my mother tongue very good. So it's all about the parents. If you take your children out, you should be using, the mother tongue at the house. So that way they can also be able to learn, just like me. I grew up there, but when I came here, even now if I speak it, nobody can believe that I do, but I really do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kelana Jalet, Mama Mary Aluel, كيف ممكن طبعا في صعوبات كتير كيف ممكن أنا بقدر أعيش يعني كبرى لنا عنده عن تربية بتاعنا في وقت الآن لأنه في بقى مشاكل كتير و أنا بقدر أحفظه جهاجات ألتا علمه ده كيف عشان ما يودر
ده يا كلام أنا جيتني شان شنو
نعم
da kuma batanina da belet batanina belet tanina de kali kunu marage manina ya giya da lanina gamo lo asade anina bajur pisana kulo anina bro ajur mal ko kan ze belet tani kan ba yenu lanina mal al quest kide biga bilimunu sa win pogo
نعم كان حكومة أجي سلاكم محل إنت تكي روبي سايدتهم كيف عشان حاجات إنتم بقدر يستمروا وممكن جورو ناس كتير
أي كان حكومة ساعدانينا ساعدلي قمال وبساعدانينا دا حكومة بتانينا كان ما سوق ما في أساعد سوق غالي في سوق كان حكومة ساعدانينا بقول غالي جنوب السودان أنينا ما يندو من نساوين aldakal kulu fi shokol
de suk barawal fi hajatanin
fi hajatanin bita culture hajatanin bita culture da nina kulu bilimu fi malwat ay kan nina yindu do kan kabira sa da nina kulu bilimu hajat bita baledna barabara kulu bilimu gali de bita junubu sudan kan fi na tanin jai fi malat tanin gali de dukan bita junubu sudan anina bukunu garib ma kuma kan fi aja alma fi lanina akuma bisada nina kan ma fi aja chanchuno akuma de sudur butanina kulo anina barada fogo o barada la nina kama fi aja alu bishilo anina ma baba fogo kan wa amola dokan la nina mal kabir de ya o kalam al magem ana jit fogo narde kan kale ana wonu fi junubu sudan ya wala dana fogo wana majot fogo la mana na jaz fogo zede ana dar kalimalta nina daraba ma mara sagi de kan junub kana nina bara nina ma bagada ma mara sagi bleita ko da ya kalama ne jet fogo na harda
naam shukran so Jacky I mean let me come to you Huda Izedin so what do you hope should be the people or the listeners take away from the This Is Us series?
This Is Us series, it's a project that we co-founded. We are like maybe 5 people who co-founded this project. It's about the traditional attires of South Sudan. In this way, we are trying to we try to get different kind of cultures in South Sudan, and then we got to know their meanings of their cultural attires, like maybe the balanda. What do the balanda wear when they're going for marriage, or maybe when there's a funeral? What do they wear, and what kind of a meaning does it tell? And even including the beads too, like the general attire of South Sudan, and also different kind of cultures in South Sudan, like maybe about a woman, maybe when a woman is giving birth. Like for example, the Balanda woman, when a woman is supposed to be given birth, she's supposed to crawl on her knees, like coming down and holding the baby on her hands. Such kind of cultures is what is all about This Is Us.
Right. So what is that message you want to leave with the listeners, Jacky?
Yeah, one key thing is everybody who is on this following us need to understand that women are custodians of culture. And then if women are custodians of culture, women are leaders. So if women are leaders, women need to be respected. Because when you see everything, especially in the context of South Sudan, race on the women, you will find that a woman can be married in another ethnic group, but she will get to understand even into details the cultural aspect of the husband side compared to the husband himself.
That's very true.
Yeah. Some men do not understand their own cultures, but their women do. So women, as being custodians of culture, we deserve respect.
Thank you. Risala taki chino besid le masal gas maita.
Ana da raja. Chan chino bikalam butanina no sa winde. Anina dar sharak ma no sa winta mala tanin. Zena butakem. Kanina yindu mala sade nina budoru le oman budoru la nina. De male o mafe. Tanaja pina buta wow, pina buta Yambia, pina buta Equatorial bugulu gali aja de shunu le tugo. Anina budoru pi male de kulu. Kanina yindu gadara. Ukawaja bugula sade ita der masare de ita yindu mal, ita fi mal ita amolu fi cerveza, anina yindu cerveza. Ala nina amolu. Yao kalama nina jille Junubu Sudan sarbet batanina de kalifata. Chan bilimu nusa winta Junub kulu alma yindu shokol. Chan kalicha kalpi kalcha bata Junubu Sudan. Dama nina bara tana ja nina der nusa win kubarin. Nusa win kubarin de kalie togo nina. Dama nina ya nusa win bara. Alpi barlaman kali uman ja ayen mal al gamo le kalcha fogo. Kalcha de uman ma bi fogo. Der kali woman ayene nas kubarde butanina de nas kubarda nina der woman pi malde yan kali na woman ayen butani sa win woman gamul shuno.
Naam, shukran. Thank you, Jacky Ben, the programs coordinator at Ma Mara Sakit, for highlighting the key things that or programs that you been taking along, supporting earth and culture in the country, and also Huda Izedin, the co-creator of This Is Us series. It's been a pleasure having you. Shukran Lek Bardo, Mama Mary, Mawuju Taki Studio Thai Radio.
Shukran, thank you.